I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, today we are reading from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and let's focus on verses 18 through 20. But now God has placed the parts, each one of them, in the body, just as He wanted. And if they were all the same part, well, where would the body be? Now, there are many parts and yet one body. Now, there are some who believe God doesn't really care about your decisions in life. They just feel as long as you're a Christian, you just do whatever you want to do. And when it comes to your job or who you marry, or how many kids you have, some folks would say that God just shrugs His shoulders and He doesn't really care about your choices, as long as you're just a good person. I happen to disagree. I don't see that biblically. I think the Bible teaches calling. Not only does God call people out of the world and invite them to know Him personally in a saving way, but He also calls each of us to accomplish His purposes in earth. That means that God has a plan, He has a place, and He has a purpose for each one of us. You got a job to do. He calls us to specific places to minister to specific people for specific periods of time. And in his first letter to the Corinthians, Paul addresses the fact that God places each one of us in the body of Messiah just as He wants us, like a jeweler puts a diamond exactly where he wants it in the setting. And it is not up to us to choose whether we will be a hand or a head or a mind or a heart, as it were. We were created to perform specific functions within the body of Messiah. Nobody is unimportant, and none are so important that their personal well-being takes precedence over the well-being of the body as a whole. That is to say, while we need everyone working within his or her specific roles, nobody is irreplaceable. You know what? I'd just do better without the other foot. No, you need both feet. If an individual ceases to serve the body, well, then the body will suffer. But the Lord can raise up a replacement. Now try and picture a master jeweler, as I said earlier, creating an engagement ring, and his goal is to showcase that large diamond in the center of the setting. And he surveys a palette of gemstones, and then he just determines how and where to place each gemstone in the setting according to his craftsmanship. And of course, this is a metaphor where the center stone represents Jesus, and of course the jeweler is God the Father. And we would be supporting gemstones, and the ring itself would be the gospel. And as the engagement ring plays a very important role in a groom's proposal to his bride-to-be, well, so the gospel should be presented with thoughtfulness and diligence to non-believers. So, how well do you fulfill your role in the greater scheme of presenting Jesus to the lost? Well, you may feel like an insignificant chunk of coal, but God sees you as a diamond. And as I mentioned earlier, you matter to God. At the same time, you may feel like you should be the center of attention, but that's not your job. You're a support role. Jesus is the center of attention. He's the center stone. You see, we each have an important role to play, but it must always be a supporting role. We exist to work within our specific callings in unity with one another in order to glorify God through Jesus, the bridegroom, as we present the gospel to the bride. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Now, Groundworks Ministries operates entirely through financial donations from faithful people like you. And yes, we do need your monthly support. Donating is secure and it's easy at our website, groundworksministries.com. You know, another way to help is to just tell people about Groundworks Ministries. You can share our podcast with friends and family and on your social media. We love it when you do that. And of course, you can always direct folks to our website, groundworksministries.com.